Give me the news with Grad. News with Gina Grad. Breaking, viral, weird crime, protest, politics. Give me news with Gina Grad. Stuff they saw on TMZ. Joe Biden, Kamala. Meat news with Gina Grad.
The news with Gina Grad.
Thank you. Nice to be back. Well, we talked about Louis Anderson, very sad, but we do need to raise a glass and pour one out to another icon that even if Adam didn't celebrate him in his day, a lot of us did. Meat Loaf, the musician who is known for his larger-than-life theatrical rock. He has died at 74. His family posted the news on his Facebook page just after 3 a.m. on Friday. It said that his wife, Deborah, daughters Pearl and Amanda, and close friends had been with him throughout the last 24 hours. He recently did have COVID, according to TMZ, but unclear what exactly that had to do with his passing.
I ran into Meat Loaf. I didn't know Meat Loaf, but I ran into him at Pat O'Brien's Christmas party.
That is a fucking Mad Lib.
Pat O'Brien used to throw a big Christmas party, like up in the hill, at a big estate up in the hills. And Jimmy and I were going, and we parked the car, and it was like a gated community type thing. And we're getting out of the car, and the sort of Meat Loaf was getting out of his car, and we're just sort of walking up to the front door, like at the same time. And that was my memory of meeting Meat Loaf.
But you said he didn't really make it to the West Coast, like East Coast, Midwest. We were all very familiar with his catalog.
Well, I had a roommate that was from Philadelphia, as Dan Dunn is.
Yes.
And it struck me that, Meat Loaf was not a big thing in North Hollywood. We knew Oingo Boingo and X and all these weird
Like
sort
punkish.
of California local whatever.
Right.
And everyone on the East Coast knew Meat Loaf, and they didn't know who X or Oingo Boingo was. And so there was a kind of a regional thing. But Meat Loaf, I think out of all the bands, all the big bands, and how many records and units were sold of, Meat Loaf never got spins here in L.A.
That is odd. I mean, with giant hits.
Hits.
Ballads, rock anthems.
We got REO Speedwagon. Yeah. We got Kansas. We got Styx. We got everything. We didn't get Meat Loaf out here.
I grew up in the Bay Area, and when he had his big comeback in 90, whatever it was.
Bat Out of Hell. Bat Out of Hell 2.
Whatever it was. Yeah. That was kind of the first I'd heard of him.
Wow.
I mean,
Right, that's the whole point.
Vaguely aware.
He didn't make it to the West Coast,
but he
which
made
is
it
weird.
But he made it everywhere else because I'd do anything for love, but I won't do that. Number 1 in 28 countries. And we had actually...
There's not 28 countries.
I beg to differ. There's at least 32.
I never heard of that.
Okay, well, we'll Google it.
Well, that's a testament to how much people don't like butt sex. Because isn't that what it's about? I would do anything for love, but I won't do that.
Yeah, that and Paradise by the Dashboard Light.
Isn't that what is it really about? But I won't do that. What is he won't do?
I guess we'll never know.
Yeah, no, it's anal.
Yeah.
It's anal. Okay. It has to be.
You're right.
We reported on this, too, I think, a few times. He started collapsing on stage a lot, suffering health conditions in his 60s. So not sure what the coroner says, but he will be missed by everyone not in North Hollywood.
Have you ever seen the video of him at the Mitt Romney rally?
What?
Oh, my God. No. If you guys have this, if you can find it, he was at a Mitt Romney rally, and they started singing. And I don't know if he was on something or what was going on. And it was the most uncomfortable thing you'll ever see. Mitt Romney's like, how do we get this guy off stage? And he's singing, but he was like he got on his knees and he was like, and he was like screaming. And Mitt Romney just was like, I might lose the presidency right now by having this lunatic on stage with me right now.
Oh my God.
Check it out if you go to YouTube and just find Meat Loaf and Mitt Romney. It's very uncomfortable to watch.
He was in Fight Club, right?
You think he was bitch tits?
Here it is right here, look. Yeah.
Is that Kid Rock?
So he's behind him. No.
There he is. Yeah.
He jumps in at some point, and it gets.
He has his hand around.
Head now, brother.
That's the dude from Alabama.
Oh, my good. Well, from sea. Well, from sea.
Wow.
It's piss. Okay.
and Mitt's like, get me the fuck out of here right
Well,
now.
I mean, has he heard of Meat Loaf? He's a theatrical guy.
They never talk about the other guy. Like, I was watching, I don't know, you know when Biden introduces someone and you can't remember their name?
Indeed.
I always feel horrible for the other guys. Like, all right, our Rear Admiral of Defense, he's a good dude. It's like there's some stumbling, and that poor guy's just sitting there going, fuck, I'm not going to get my... I feel bad for him.
Yeah.
Like, I don't feel as bad for Biden as I do for the dude whose name and Mitt, I felt bad for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
He had to paste that smile on.
What do you think Meat Loaf was doing there?
I don't know. Like, who on the campaign went, you know what we need? If we really want to connect with the kids today,
Right.
you know what we got to get up on
Right.
stage here? Meat Loaf. Let's get him in. He's fresh.
Wait a minute,
And he doesn't
what
like
was his
anal.
name?
He will not take it. By the way, he represents family values. He will not take it in the ass. He said it in a song. He will do anything but that.
His last name was Aday. I'll tell you right now.
He was in Fight Club. Sorry if I missed it.
Yeah,
I was editing
bitch
the drop.
tits.
He was Robert Paulson, and he had bitch tits.
Yeah,
He was great.
his real name is Michael Lee Aday.
Can I say this? Out of all the people where you know their real name, never knew Meat Loaf's
No.
name. Never. It was just Meat Loaf.
And I listened to this old interview with him on NPR or something, and they said, should I call you Mr. Loaf? He's like, call me Meat. Everybody calls me Meat.
Well, you know, the story behind it is I read this. He was a pudgy kid. He had a very abusive alcoholic father
Oh, there
who
we go.
started calling him Meat from the time he was an infant, and in a very derogatory way, just meat. And then it was like, you're a piece of meat, you're fat, you're this. And that drove him to the theater, as it happens.
Yeah,
we all
I
did
get
it.
that.
There's two ways you can go with that. You can
Right.
you can become a member of a group of folks
Yep.
that are out doing
Ornery business.
tomfoolery,
Yep.
or
Right.
you become Meat Loaf and you go to the theater and you channel that.
Well, Louis Anderson as well. Like,
Yeah.
you both had horrible dads,
Yep.
and now we hear you.
There's a now very famous drag queen named Trixie Mattel who dresses like a Barbie, and it's because her either dad or stepdad, whoever he was, would make fun of him and call him Trixie to sort of belittle him because he kind of knew he was gay at a young age. And now he's a very famous drag queen named Trixie. Anyway,
Well, this is my Ferrari thing. Ferrari was a douche, and now we have Lamborghini.
Oh.
Ferrari was a douche, and now we have the Ford GT40.
pressure
So,
on a diamond.
Yeah, but most of the people have eating disorders and turn out to be pieces of shit. But every once in a while, we
right.
get a great artist or a great car.
That's right.
Better yet.
Can we raise a drink?
Yes.
One of Paul Sanguinetti's drinks. R.I.P. Meat Loaf.
That's
And you know what
right.
that stands
Thank you.
for? Rest in potatoes. Sorry. I've been saving that joke all day. I thought about it in the car.
Yeah.
Right? It's funny, right?
It's
R.I.P.
good.
Rest in potatoes.
Yeah, with
'cause
vodka,
he's Meat
sure.
Loaf.
And meatloaf, yep.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked earlier in the show about
Guest
lockdowns.
of the year titles in Jeopardy already.
Self-sabotaging. By the way, I'm Irish Catholic. I'm making sure that next year I do not get guest of the year. I don't want to.
One and done.
I want Sammy the Bull to get it next year.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So we talked about lockdowns and, craziness. Well, Austrian lawmakers have voted to require all residents 18 and up to get vaccinated. The requirement includes exceptions for pregnant women and people with certain medical conditions and people who recovered from COVID in the last 6 months. The mandate kicks off February 1st, and it's around a $4,000 fine. Austria, if they find out you have not been vaccinated. Meanwhile, and this is a very early, very small study, but UPI, on the science front, UPI reports that a small study suggested a link between abnormalities in cerebrospinal fluid and lingering brain fog in COVID-19 patients. So apparently the fluid of patients with cognitive symptoms have levels of elevated protein. It suggests inflammation, as well as these unexpected antibodies found in their immune system. So it's not just a thing, be like, brain fart. Like, it could be a thing.
Long-haulers.
Yeah.
Austria is a good example of overcorrection. Like, you guys gave us Adolf Hitler.
Indeed.
And you're doing everything the fucking opposite direction. Just go back to the middle.
But we also had Schwarzenegger,
Yeah.
I think we're cool.
We're even.
Yeah.
Yeah, you made up for it.
Do you think the COVID, one of the long haul effects is that when you drink alcohol, it makes you feel it in your nether regions?
That's
You said that.
possible.
I mean, you did say that earlier.
So I'm like,
It's a positive.
as you hear this, I'm like 5 days negative. So I am now into, like post-COVID symptoms, and maybe it's you know.
Well, I was
What did you mean by that, though? Seriously.
You know what I mean.
I don't know what you mean. I really, you mean like it was exciting you to drink the drink?
Like it's like, you know, when you like drink alcohol and it's like you feel it in your esophagus, you feel it in your chest. It just kept going south.
You know what's this is
It's the greatest drink ever made.
It's really good.
If you're a fellow oncology patient, you've experienced this, please tweet my confirmation. But there's like a drug, like it's like a contrast or something for like an MRI or a CT, I think it is, or whatever it is. They inject it, and within 10 seconds, you feel it in your taint.
Really?
Yeah, it's like
It's
pins and needles.
taint-specific?
It's like pins and needles in your perineum.
Wow.
Or
Well, there-
perineum?
Perineum, whatever.
Your grandmother
Yes,
would say
thank you.
perineum.
Wow.
There's I did like a barium flush or whatever the fuck that was, a dye, and they tell you in advance you're gonna feel like you're peeing your pants. You're not, but I showed them
I was talking to Drew about the long hauler syndrome.
because he has it, right?
He
Did he have
says
it
he
twice?
does.
Did he have it twice? Or
He's
am I-
had it twice.
But he had the big kahuna. I just had the whatever. You know, he had it early.
I was with Drew 2 Christmases in a row where he came down with it. Literally hanging out with him for 2 Christmases when he then tested positive like the next day. Or the first time it was that night.
Oh my god.
It kicked in. That was a year plus ago. And then last Christmas I was with him and he got it again. So we're talking about the long hauler syndrome, which is maybe a thing, but it's kind of like Epstein-Barr or chronic fatigue.
Hard to prove.
Yeah, so now we're going to have to figure this one out. Who are we going to cut checks to? Everyone got it. Everyone can claim long hauler syndrome.
Okay.
Right? You go, look, you can say my back's bad and get a paycheck. Now I can't think.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? Like I've got brain fog. You know what I mean? So it's like there's going to be a big thing with disability and long hauler syndrome.
Interesting.
And if 70 million Americans got COVID, I think we figured out that many Americans are willing to get a check.
They wouldn't turn it down.
And who's to say you don't have a little brain fog or you can't concentrate or you can't remember
What's that you
somebody's
just said?
name? Right. So it's going to be a thing with disability and long hauler syndrome. And so there's fibromyalgia.
Yeah. It's a big one.
There was Epstein-Barr.
Yep.
There was chronic fatigue.
Adrenal fatigue.
We never really figured out whether those things were real.
Right.
But if we can't figure out whether those are real, we're never going to figure out long haul.
Right.
I think it's going to be tough for me to make that case. Can't really go to them and be like, hey, I drink for a living and I'm suffering from brain fog.
Can't do my job.
I don't know what's going on here.
What are you going to do for
But
me?
I can't keep my head straight while I'm getting drunk on
Although
these.
you-
So, but also, who are we going to talk out of this? Like, who amongst us doesn't wake up on any given day and go, whoa, I'm feeling a
feeling it."
little
Yeah.
something.
A little
I can't
fuzzy.
remember my address.
No, you're right.
Right.
But you know what you can prove? Getting vaccinated or boosted and having your period every 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. I told you that was happening.
It's a loins thing.
Something's happening to me because
Clearly.
I said that early on. I said that at the beginning of last year, and now I'm getting all the links everyone's sending me that there's a connection there. I'm not scared of it. It doesn't bother me. I wasn't insane.
Can we get Paul in here to see what he thinks?
All right.
You know what I'm going to miss
yeah.
the most about COVID when it's finally gone is I think we can all agree it truly is the greatest excuse ever created to get out of anything in the world. Anytime I don't want to do anything, I go, hey, by the way, I was around Gina Grad and she had COVID.
Gotta
so
hunker
I
down.
can't come to your thing.
have an
I want to get
out
out of it.
purpose.
Anything.
Let's share a glass.
I have had COVID like 35,000 times. And
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, sorry, I got COVID. Can't make it. They're like, oh, I didn't go to my, I better not say that.
And
on
you
the
can
air.
be like, oh,
I skipped something that was a family thing, and I was like, oh, I was around someone that had COVID. I can't come.
if you want to take the chance, I guess you could. No.
Thank you for coming to
Yeah.
my wedding and not saying you had COVID.
Yeah, well, that one I wanted to
Oh,
go
good.
to.
I
Yeah, I
appreciate
did want to,
that.
yeah, because I wanted to spend an hour in the car with the bishops.
It was nice.
Yeah, it was really nice.
Dan almost threw up in our backseat.
I almost did throw up in his car.
Really?
Yes.
Not from drinking. What was
Dan
wrong with me?
Dan was. There was the.
Oh, I was drinking the night before.
You know
that
how
was
someone
it. Yeah.
gets quiet for a good 12-minute stretch on a road trip, and you're like, "It's not saying much."
Well, we had to pick something up. He had to stop somewhere, and I was so mad at him because I was hungover and I'm in the back seat, and I get car sick
You were
anyway.
mad at me?
And I was thinking, I was like, why the fuck do we have to go pick this thing up? Because it's adding like 3 extra miles, and in that those 3 extra miles was near your. I was like, I don't think I'm gonna make it. And then then Brian's wife turned around and she was like, are you okay? Chrissy's like, are you okay? And I'm like,
Keep driving.
let's just get there. Let's get to this wedding.
What'd you have to pick up?
I had to drop off a hard drive for the documentary
Oh.
to an editor.
Ooh la
Or
la.
drop something off. It was extra. It was like an extra 5 minutes in the car.
How dare you.
That was really touch and go for me because I was like, what if I get sick before Gina's wedding?
That would suck.
I'm not gonna be able to make out with anybody
That's
at the
right.
wedding, and I didn't. No one made out with me at the wedding. I was, you know,
All right, next story.
Okay.
sorry.
This is one I've been holding on to, and I can't wait to share it. Microsoft has included a new function in the latest version of its Word software that acts as a checker. You know, and they have checking for spelling and grammar and punctuation. That's standard. Well, now they have one for inclusivity and offers PC alternatives to phrases which could upset others. I think our own governor used this in his last speech. So now, like this, after highlighting an inclusivity issue, Word's new functionality will suggest more acceptable alternatives. So instead of postman, you'll get postal worker. And they even alter famous quotes that happen the way they happen. So Neil Armstrong's famous quote, "One giant leap for mankind," has now been changed to humankind or suggested humanity.
Wow.
So fucked
Rewriting the
up.
Throwing
past.
George Lucas on history.
That's right.
My problem with all this bullshit, whether it's Newsom or Google, is when you correct something, you feel like you've satiated, you've
Right.
done something, you've
We can all move on.
accomplished something. You know, you haven't accomplished jack shit. So you calling gangs folks doesn't accomplish jack shit.
Organized groups of folks.
Right, but it feels like you did something, and that's the whole problem. So it's all fucking lip service. We're just talking about, like, say this, identify that, bring this up, and it feels like, oh, I guess we did something. Like, oh, we named Mexicans Latinx. Okay, our work is done here. It doesn't accomplish
Right.
anything. Look, this has been going on for a long time. We go, like, a rape victim, rape survivor. Oh, so you never got raped? Like, how's this work?
Right. Or the problem is not something.
How are we fixing this? How are we stopping rapes? Like, you're relabeling everything. It feels satisfying to you. We get nothing done. It's not homeless. It's unhoused. There's still a bunch of junkies flopped out on the street. Yeah, but they're unhoused.
The
Oh, okay. So I guess we've solved the problem. So your kid's a junkie, or he's hooked on fentanyl or something like that, and you call him Steve, but I call him Steven. Okay, so now problem solved?
Yeah,
'Cause
address
we
him
just changed
properly.
his fucking name. It's a weird thing that's supposed to satiate people. I don't get it.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you say satiate, and I understand the context you're saying it, but it makes the rest of us paranoid. Like, I'm a normal person. I don't say, I don't hurl racial epithets at people, and I'm going to be typing on Microsoft, and they're going to make a suggestion to me, and I'm like, did I do something wrong?
Ugh.
You know what I mean? Like, it makes me paranoid.
Yeah, that's a ancillary is the wrong word, but like a detriment because people who want to help or want to be sympathetic or whatever are now scared
Right.
to get involved in the discussion.
Yes, it's all this. You correct. Listen, your grandmother mean, my grandmother mean,
Sure.
do a lot of correcting, a lot of vocal correcting. I was always scared to talk in front of her.
Right.
Yeah,
Because she'd
good
stop
point.
me every few seconds and go, you're not, no. You said solenoid, solenoid. Like she literally she corrected me on solenoid
What is
versus
that?
solenoid. It's a part of a car, the starter.
What?
The
She
thing.
corrected you on a part of a car?
I said solenoid, and she stopped and went solenoid.
Wow.
Amazing.
Like she would
There's no
correct,
legs she won't go to.
eventually stop talking, which is their goal. Don't talk. I'll correct you every 9 syllables. That's how, and then they're in charge.
Dan, speaking of rum, I was telling my grandma once how much I love Pirates of the Caribbean. She goes, "It's Caribbean."
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Thanks, Grandma, mate.
Right.
I thought it was Caribbean until the Disney movie came out.
I gotta
Doesn't
be
everyone
honest.
call it
I'm
Caribbean?
okay. I'm okay with this new Microsoft feature because I actually do put a lot of racial epithets in my writing.
you
and
might
then
need some
and then I'm
hand-holding.
like, oh, that's right. You can't say that.
Right.
And yeah, so it's really helped me out.
That's
a
probably
bunch.
for the
Yeah,
best.
my
The
career's-
ride was always Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah,
I thought.
Yeah, but we always called
Always.
it Caribbean. But then, the ride in the movie, it's
I
Caribbean.
think it's Caribbean, right?
I thought it was
You
Caribbean.
may go to the Caribbean, but the ride was called Pirates of the Caribbean.
That's what I thought.
And you can no longer go through the ride and see a big, sturdy lady chasing a man.
Yes,
That's
you
right.
can.
Okay, wait.
What?
What's
She's back.
She's back.
I saw her last month.
Oh,
what's the
boy.
name of this town in the central coast of California? Pasorobles. How do you
Paso
pronounce that?
Robles.
Paso Robles.
Paso Robles.
Paso
Morons.
Robles.
Don't they? What is
Morons
it?
are called
Paso Robles.
Robles. That's what they say.
Robles.
There you go.
Robles. Yeah.
It's
No.
Paso Robles, but it's also
No.
Los Feliz, and don't fucking call it Los Feliz.
I
you
can't
call
get
it.
people to stop saying the PCH.
We got a lot of problems.
It is the PCH. Isn't it?
That's what I'm talking
You get
about.
out of here now, and you never
It's just
darken the store again.
PCH.
Strip of his title.
I bet Paul Sanguinetti calls it just PCH.
Let's find out.
Fine, let's bring him back in. Paul.
All right, one more.
All right, let's find you a good one. Okay, so imagine a fart that is so pungent it could cause you to lose your eyesight. It's possible, apparently, according to Dr. Anthony Yun. He's a holistic doctor in Michigan. I'm just going to let him explain this. This TikTok has really picked up speed.
Although this is very unlikely, if the gas you pass is extremely pungent, it could contain large amounts of hydrogen sulfide. Studies show that hydrogen sulfide is very effective in reducing blood pressure, and if it reduces blood pressure to the central retinal artery, your silent but deadly toot could theoretically make you go blind. So be careful if you're making a lot of bubbles in your bathtub.
Anyway, if Gina takes one more sip of that cocktail, we might all be in trouble. Because you said it's moving down, right? It keeps going.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Feeling
I'd
it.
never heard
Right.
this before. So this is something we should all be worried about.
All right, let's bring it home,
You
Gina.
got
Grad.
it. I'm Gina Grad, and that's the news. This is fantastic.
Gina Grad.
That was the news with Gina Grad.
All right, last but not least, there's Geico. Do you own, do you rent your home? Will you do one or the other? I bet you work hard, too. Well, you know what's easy? Bundling your policies at Geico. Geico makes it easy to bundle your homeowners or renters insurance along with your automotive policy. It's a good thing, too, because you already have so much to do around your home. So go to geico.com, get a quote, and see just how much you could save and just how easy it is to save when you go to geico.com. So visit geico.com today and see how much you could save at geico.com.
This is fantastic.
All right, I want to thank Tom Green for coming in. Dan Dunn and Paul Sanguinetti. Paul's really the star of that
Yeah, I
duo.
can't wait to have him back.
What We're Drinking with Dan Dunn, that's the podcast, and Instagram at The Imbiber. And until next time, Sam Kroll for Dan and Paul, and that's right, Tom and Gina and Bald.
Brain fog.
Say it. Mahala.
But people always say, if you lose all your weight, it won't be funny anymore.
Yeah.
And I understand their thinking. I understand their thinking, but it always is, it still is, it's just, it's kind of a kick in the gut. You choose the place you're sitting in. If you choose to be depressed, you'll be depressed. You have to, like somebody says, oh, I feel like I'm laying in a swamp. Well, if you stood up, the swamp's only up to your ankles.